everyone, and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel, and we continue with Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. Before we get started, this is how I'm going to sound today. I got some sort of coughing situation, so it's going to happen. I apologize in advance. Let's get into it. Hallelu et Adonai kol goyim shabechu kol haomim ki gavar elenu chasdo ve'emet Adonai leolam hallelujah. So we continue with Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. We are in chapter 43. This is 43d. We are continuing with our way back home with repentance, and this one is about Reish Lakish, the gladiator turned rabbi. He's got so many other things, but I could only make a title so long. Anyway, let's get into it. Ben Azai says, "Come and see the power of Teshuvah from Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish." So in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, they give about 10 words of this guy's previous life and almost no background. The reason is that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, aka Resh Lakish, was a great sage from the time of the Amoraim, the generation after the Tanaim, right after the destruction of the Second Temple, so in other words, 2nd century. His name appears all over both the Babylonian and the Jerusalem Talmud, and he was considered to be so sharp in his wisdom in Torah and so diligent in his effort to understand, never resting for a moment from seeking the knowledge it had to offer. One of his famous sayings can be found in Masechet Eruvin 65a, so you have an idea of this man's work ethic. Rav Yehuda said, "Night was created for sleep." Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, "The moon was created only for Torah study by its light." So this man was definitely one of the greats of his generation, but as always, to accentuate his current status, doing tshuva and all, you got to hear this guy's backstory, right? So he was born in the east side of the he was born on the east side of Jordan River, 200 CE, but primarily grew up in the Galilee around the town of Tzipori, close to Tiberias. In his youth, like a good Jew, right, he delved into Torah, but as he matured, he fell in some hard times and he couldn't make ends meet. However, the good Lord did bless him with brains and also brawn, and as a result, our guy put those talents to use in other ways. So he sold himself to a ludus and trained to be a gladiator. If any of you watch Spartacus, you know what a ludus is, right? If you haven't, it's a gladiator training camp. But again, you sell yourself into slavery, and they do whatever they want with you in addition to training you, right? You literally have to sell yourself to become a slave to be part of it, and through a certain number of victories, you can win your freedom. Now, he was very successful, never losing a fight with either man or beast. He primarily fought beasts over there. But he was an entertainer. He was a showman, and a clever one at that. Also known as the Hebrew Hercules, due to his immense size and sheer strength. This guy was massive. And a guy like that is not just released from slavery, especially if they draw in a crowd. And so his masters plotted to kill him rather than release him. So what did our guy do? From Masechet Gittin 47a, Resh Lakish sold himself to a ludus. He took a bag and a round stone inside it with him. He said, "There is a tradition that on the final day of a captive's life, before his captors kill him, because he knew, you know what, they're not going to release me. So the day he says, okay, I'm done. You can kill me now, right? So he said, there's a tradition that on the final day of a captive's life, before his captors kill him, which they were about to, they do for him anything that he requests of them so that he would forgive them for the spilling of his blood. On the final day before they were set to kill him, they said to him, 'What is amenable to you? What you want?' He said to them, 'I want to tie you up and have you sit down, and I will strike each one of you 1.5 times. That's it. Okay, like full force and 50%. He tied them up, and he had them both sitting down. When he struck, and they were back to back. When he struck one of them with the strike, with the stone in the bag, the one whom he struck died, because Resh Lakish was of great strength. Resh Lakish gritted his teeth in anger and said to the one whom he just killed, in order to prevent the others from realizing what was happening, Are you laughing at me? He said. You still have half a strike remaining with me, as I struck you only once. Bottom line, he killed them all, and Resh Lakish escaped his captors. From his days fighting for money, he figured out a way to receive the money without a fight, or at least with less of a fight, as he formed and led a gang of bandits or highwaymen, depending on where you're from. He was very good at what he did. Throughout those years, he was known to purposefully always sleep on the ground as a matter of principle, saying, my fat or my belly is enough cushion for me. This is also from Masachet Gittin 47a. He was poor his entire life, even when he was a bandit. Unlike his crew, he only robbed the rich, or anyone who may have had an excess of anything. But his crew would even rob from those who had nothing. So if a person crossed their path and had nothing but the clothes on his back, his friends would take the clothes, right? But not Reish Lakish. Now make no mistake, this is a direct prohibition from the Ten Commandments, even if the person is rich and greedy. Robin Hood is not a kosher situation, all right? It was God who allowed them to obtain their wealth to begin with, regardless, through whatever means they did so. They get their rewards in this world, and don't worry, that's it. So you let him be. In any case, Resh Lakish only worked, be it fights to the death primarily with apex predators in the arena, or steal from the rich in order to survive. That's why he did these things. But everything changed when he met Rabbi Yochanan, a renowned Torah scholar at that time. So again, this guy was brilliant, and he only did what he did in order to live. That's it. He was never rich, not a day in his life. So this is from Baba Metzia, 84a. One day, Rabbi Yochanan was bathing in the Jordan River. Resh Lakish saw him and jumped into the Jordan, pursuing him. And the word is, right, he jumped almost across the entire river because he was so powerful. At that time, Resh Lakish was the leader of a band of marauders. Rabbi Yochanan said to Resh Lakish, your strength is fit for Torah study. Resh Lakish said to him, and your beauty is fit for women. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, if you return to the pursuit of Torah, I will give you my sister in marriage who is more beautiful than I. So the understanding is that Resh Lakish thought that Rabbi Yochanan was a woman. Rabbi Yochanan was a very good-looking dude, okay? So from far away, he's like, okay, here we go. Let's go for a swim. And he did, and he's like, oh, sorry, okay, you get the idea. So he said, why don't you come back, study Torah? I'll give you my sister. She's a hotter female version of me, right? Resh Lakish accepted upon himself the Torah study right then and there. Subsequently, Resh Lakish wanted to jump back out of the river to bring back his clothes, but he was unable to return as he had lost his physical strength as soon as he accepted the responsibility of Torah upon himself. Rabbi Yochanan taught Resh Lakish Bible, he taught him Mishnah, he taught him, and he turned him into a great man. Eventually, Resh Lakish became one of the outstanding Torah scholars of his generation. So you can find his name, like we said, throughout the Talmud, Jerusalem, Babylonian, as well as throughout many Kabbalistic books from some of our greatest sages over the past 2,000 years. This man was known for being a strong, fearsome force of nature, both in the arena and in Beit Midrash. So you see, God gives us our personality. It all depends how we choose to use it. A person could be fiery and strong, right? Take that, apply it to Torah. You'll get those kind of results, right? As Rabbi Yochanan said, if you could only apply your great strength to learning Torah, you would be an undefeated grand champion. Some of his, well, I just paraphrased there. Anyway, some of his highlights, you can see some of the genius of this man. Sanhedrin 8a. You shall hear the small and the great alike, he said, from Deuteronomy 1:17. Resh Lakish says, this teaches that the judgment of one peruta, one penny, should be as dear or as important, as valuable to you as the judgment of 100 maneh, meaning 10,000 dinars or 10,000 pieces of silver. 1 penny to 10,000 pieces of silver, meaning there is no big or small when it comes to the commandments. They all come from the same source, and they are both holy. And we've given this example before, but you can use this now again in your day-to-day. The fifth commandment in the 10 Commandments is honor thy father and thy mother, right? And the sending away of the mother bird that takes the eggs. What is the connection between these two? The former is considered to be one of the greatest commands in the Torah. It's in the 10 Commandments. It is literally the one that binds the two parents with God. So there are three actually that make man. It's the father and the mother, and God that gives basically the personality and all the extra gifts in there, right? So we have that, and the lowest command in the Torah that is considered the lowest mitzvah is if you see a pigeon and you want to take the eggs, you have to shoo the mother bird away before. In other words, it's also a positive command in the Torah. So that one's considered the least in the Torah. And yet, for this exact reason, they are the only two commands in the Torah that the reward is actually told. If you do this, you will get that. If you do this, you will get that specifically. Not like if you listen to all my statutes and my commands, you will live on your land and everything's going to be good. We're talking about for this command, here's your reward. Those are the only two commands in the whole Torah. What does it say? Exodus 20:12. Honor your father and your mother in order that your days be lengthened. Deuteronomy 22:6-7. If a bird's nest chances before you on the road, on any tree or on the ground, and it contains a fledgling or eggs, if the mother is sitting upon the fledglings or upon the eggs, you shall not take the mother upon the young. You shall send her away, and then you may take the young for yourself in order that it should be good for you, and you should lengthen your days. Understand? Honor thy father and my mother and your mother, lengthen your days. Shoo away the mother bird, lengthen your days. Doesn't make a difference if it's a penny or 10,000 pieces of silver. Sanhedrin 58b. Resh Lakish says, one who raises his hand to strike another, even if he ultimately does not strike him, is called wicked. Wicked, right? As it's stated, and two men of the Hebrews were struggling with each other, and he said to the wicked one, Moses, right? He said to the wicked one, why should you strike your friend? Exodus 2:13. The phrase, why did you strike, is not stated, but rather, why should you? Indicating that one who raises his hand to strike another, even if he ultimately did not strike him, is called wicked. What we can gather from this is just as the saying goes, it's the thought that counts, right? But it goes both ways. Think about doing something good, but let's say you didn't get the chance. It counts as if you did. Let's say there's somebody in the street, you see somebody needing help, you run to help them. The moment you see it, you run to help them, somebody just beat you to it, right? Somebody happened to be closer and they noticed it. You get that as if you helped that person, even though you didn't do it. But also, if you think about doing something bad, it counts as if you did it as well. Not to the same degree, but it still is held against you. That's why we also have to cleanse our thoughts. Neither of them are to the same degree, but all will be brought before God, as King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 12:14. For every deed God will bring to judgment for every hidden thing, whether good or bad. What is hidden? Not only that which you did without anyone seeing, which is actually even worse. It says, if you're going to go rob from someone, it is better for your soul that you do it in broad daylight without fear of men, because if you do it at night like a sneaky little sneak, that means you're afraid of man, but not of God who sees all, right? So what is hidden? Not only that which you do which no one else can see, but your thoughts, right? No one can see your thoughts, but God does. So this went on for many years, and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish grew in name and in status, but not for his own sake, as he had wholeheartedly, remember that, given his life over to God, which we will get into right now. So remember, if you have a bad thought, if you have a negative thought, catch it. And make a course correction. Repent, okay? I'm so sorry. It happens. It happens when we're in situations of stress, or it happens if we get bad news. It happens when we're on the road. It can happen all throughout our day, right? Someone upsets you. God sent that person. So when you get angry or think negative about that person, don't. Remember, that person is just the stick. Look who's holding the stick, right? And it's I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I know you brought that upon me. and I will do better. And focus on that. That's how we do this course correct. So we continue. Come and see from the power of tshuva from Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. He, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Resh Lakish, and 2 of his friends, the bandits, would steal and rob whoever crossed their path. So this is what we just learned about, right? What did he do? He left his crew. So I gave you the whole backstory because this is all that's written in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. They would steal and rob, and that's it. So what did he do? He left his crew in the mountains to their ways and returned to God, to the God of his father, with all his heart, remember, all his heart. Through prayer and fasting, he would arise early and retire late before the Holy One, blessed be he. It's all about the heart. We already learned that the encounter with Rabbi Yochanan was the catalyst, right? And once he gave his word, since it was 100% sincere, his physical strength diminished. Not completely, but it shows that he gave himself over. In other words, he knew that his strength didn't come from himself, nor his physical strength, that the real strength in this world comes from above. And notice the process. He left his ways, he repented through fasting and prayer, just as he rose early and retired late in order to, do his banditry jobs. Now to rectify that, he arose early and retired late for God's sake, right? He woke up early to go daven in the morning. He was learning Torah till late at night. So, and that's also the morning and the evening prayers. And there's more. There has to be. Otherwise, the process is incomplete. That's not just enough. What about all the harm that he did? All the people that he stole and robbed from over the years? This all must be rectified. What about all the people, let's say, that he killed? Okay? So our text continues. And he was dealing with Torah all the days of his life and would give charity to the poor. Okay? So there's a commitment involved over here, obviously. As the wise know, that time is something that we cannot put a price on and no one can control. When we learn from our sages, they always said that when you learn Torah and you finish for the days, when you get it from the book, right? You finish from the day's study. You get it from the books. You always look how to apply that which you have learned, right? Because the living Torah is basically the purpose of learning Torah. You cannot just sit and learn Torah all day long in a hidden room. That's not how this works. We were called to live. God said it in Deuteronomy. Turn right now from Mount Sinai. Go live what I taught you. This is how it is. It's not sit in a room and that's it. You have to become that. So, like we said, you have to apply what it is that you learned. So this way you are living it, not just learning it, because really that is the purpose. And so as a result of a lifetime of learning, he realized what can be a greater return and show of appreciation towards the merciful God who kept him alive all those other years, despite his deeds, all for the sake of one day him returning to his heavenly Father, not only rectifying everything he had done, but adding surplus as well. God obviously knew this, right? That's why we are all still here breathing. That means there's still some sort of good in us, unless our tikkun is done, and then we don't need to be here anymore. Just like he robbed others, now he would go and protect others from robbers and return their stolen goods. Again, this man was known to be a big, tough guy. His fire was never really snuffed out, only redirected towards Torah. From Talmud Yerushalmi, Terumot 8:4. Rabbi Yochanan said, I was robbed by the people of Cana. He went to the assembly hall where Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish was asking him repeatedly, but he did not answer, right? He came home, maybe he tore his clothes or something. He looked kind of like he was rustled up. And the big guy's like, what happened? And he didn't want to tell him. He said, what happened? He said, what can you do? He said, all limbs depend on the heart and the heart depends on the wallet, meaning, did someone take your money, right? He said, I was robbed by the people of Cana. He said, what do you have? He said to him, show me their corner, meaning show me their hangout, right? Show me their clubhouse. I don't know. He went out to show him, says, they're right there. They, the robbers, saw him, big man Reish, right, from afar. And it said they started to chirp. In other words, they're like, uh-oh, is he coming here, right? They said, if that is Rabbi Yochanan, may he take half of it, right? In other words, if that's Rabbi, if you're coming on behalf of Rabbi Yochanan, we'll give you half of everything that we took. He said to them, by your life, I am taking all of it. He took all. That's what it says. In other words, by your life, he went there, he had a conversation with them, and he took all the money that they stole from Rabbi Yochanan, right? But not only did he return the money that was stolen to his friend, Rabbi Yochanan, earlier, it's written in the same page that he actually successfully negotiated a hostage situation. Now look at his negotiation tactics. Again, it doesn't need to say what he did to them, but basically, they just robbed a guy. They were willing to give half out of fear. Why did they give all? They had no choice. Rabbi Isi, or Imi, it depends, was captured in Safsufa. Rabbi Yochanan said, may the dead be wrapped in his shroud. In other words, they thought that he was dead. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, even if I should kill or be killed, I shall go and save him by force. He went and negotiated. They handed him over. That's it. Okay? Remember, he had nothing to his name, so what leverage did he possibly have to negotiate with except the very lives of those who kidnapped him, right? They handed him over to him. No problem. Very successful negotiation. It's him or you guys. What's it going to be? You know? And he did not return to his wicked ways ever, says Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. So obviously this is another condition to tshuva. So we see throughout his life, he wasn't only learning Torah, he was living according to the truth, according to justice. And the American, no. Obviously, this is another condition of tshuva because this shows seriousness. It shows commitment. This shows that you will take the necessary precautions never to go back because now you know that if you do, you die. In addition to it being extremely disrespectful to he who put up with you for all those years and very patiently, no less. And as a result, after this fully reformed and dedicated life, which he completely gave over, our text says, and his tshuva was accepted. So what does this show us? We do tshuva every day for the rest of our lives. We still have to do it till this very day. Every single day, especially before we go to sleep, we go through a list of everything we might have done that day. And we ask God not only to forgive us, but to forgive others who may have harmed us accidentally. If you knew how stringent the judgment was, I'll just give you an example. If you cause anybody any kind of grief and you don't make right with that individual, you're going to have to pay for that, right? Example, if someone, let's say, you're walking on the street and you see someone spit on the floor, right? Someone was there, fresh mucus lying there. It's gross, right? I could think of other things, but let's go with the least gross, right? On the floor, that moment that you go, ew, that ew, that you were grossed out for that one moment. Whoever did that, you might not never see that person, have any idea who that is. But that will be held against that person in the world to come in that judgment because they caused you discomfort even for a moment. Okay? That's the small stuff. Now think of the bigger things. Okay, so how do we do a rectification? What the very things that he sinned in, now he was doing a rectification throughout his life. He was a robber, he was a killer, and now he was protecting the weak, and he was robbing from robbers, right? He was taking back money that was rightfully his friends over there. Okay, so we understand this. So we do tshuva every day for the rest of our lives. The further off the path you go, the harder you're going to need to fight in order to return to it, but never stray again also. So let's continue from our text. It says, and on the day he died, so too did his crew of bandits in the mountains, the ones that he left so many years before. How did Resh Lakish die? Well, there was actually a feud that led to his death. But this was not an exchange of fists or swords, but rather words. From Baba Metzia 84a. It's a sad story. I'm just giving you a heads up. One day the sages of the study hall were engaging in a dispute concerning the following Braita. With regard to the sword, the knife, the dagger, the spear, a hand sickle, and a harvest sickle, from when are they susceptible to ritual impurity? Look at what they would discuss. When can you use this for the korbanot, right? The Braita answers, it is from the time of the completion of their manufacture, which is the halacha with regard to metal vessels in general. These sages inquired, and when is the completion of their manufacture? Rabbi Yochanan says, it is from when one fires these items in the furnace. Resh Lakish says, it is from when one scours them in water. After you take it out of the furnace, you put it in the water. You get that, right? Okay. After they have been fired in the furnace. In other words, he says later. Now, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, not only were they brothers-in-law, they were best friends, and they were also part of the Zugot. They were iron sharpening iron. That's what they did all the days. So they had a disagreement here. In most cases, they had a disagreement, but they would get through it, right? Rabbi Yochanan said to Resh Lakish, after he disagreed with him, a bandit knows his banditry. Resh Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, what benefit did you provide me by bringing me close to Torah? There among the bandits, they called me leader of the bandits, and here too they call me leader of the bandits. I can't get away from my past, right? Rabbi Yochanan said to him, I provided benefit to you, as I brought you close to God, under the wings of the divine presence. As a result of the quarrel, Rabbi Yochanan was offended, which in turn affected Resh Lakish, who fell ill. Rabbi Yochanan's sister, who was Resh Lakish's wife, came crying to Rabbi Yochanan, begging that he pray for Resh Lakish's recovery. She said to him, do this for the sake of my children, so they should have a father. Rabbi Yochanan said to her the verse, leave your fatherless children, I will rear them, from Jeremiah 49:11, meaning, I'll take care of them. She said to him, do so for the sake of my widowhood then. He said to her the rest of the verse, and let your widows trust in me. Ultimately, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Resh Lakish, died. Now again, the understanding is that he was so offended because his past life was brought up so carelessly, primarily in the sense to just win an argument, that it just sucked the life right out of him. Now this is something that you are not allowed to do. You are not allowed to do this, people. If someone does tshuva, you do not mention to them, unless it's from their permission, where they came from. Like, for instance, generally speaking, I have no problem explaining where I came from and most of the things I did. Some things are just not appropriate for me to obviously speak about them anywhere, right? But again, I lived that life and I'm sharing it. Why am I sharing it? Because other people that either have or are living that life can understand that is maybe that's just another step of your life. It's not necessarily where you're going to end up, and you can always do tshuva and come out of it. And it didn't happen to me like that. It's been a process, and guess what? I'm still working on it. Still working on the rectification of all the things I've done in my past life, trying to live and become a better person, helping those along the way. Right? I've had conversations with many of you out there. If you come to me and you say, I'm struggling with this, this, and that, I'm like, I also struggled with A, B, and C. Here's how I got through it, and so on and so forth, right? You cannot bring up a person's past life and throw it in their face. You will be judged tremendously for this. Do not do this. We're going to continue reading and see what happened over here with Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was sorely pained over losing him. Now again, his wife, Resh Lakish's wife, Rabbi Yochanan's sister, pleaded, and he was so insensitive, even because due to her pleads, that he just said whatever. Right? Rabbi Yochanan was sorely pained over losing him. I guess he didn't believe that it would get that far. The rabbi said, "Who will go to calm Rabbi Yochanan's mind and comfort him over his loss?" They said, "Let Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat go, as his statements are sharp, i.e. is clever and will be able to serve as a substitute for Resh Lakish." Resh Lakish was so sharp, no matter what you gave him, he countered it. These were like, they were gladiators in the base midrash, okay? This is what was going on. Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat went and sat before Rabbi Yochanan. With regard to every matter that Rabbi Yochanan would say, Rabbi Elazar ben Padat would say to him, there is a ruling which is taught in a Braita that supports your opinion. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, are you comparable to the son of Lakish, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish? Are you comparable to my lost buddy? So in my discussion with the sons of Lakish, when I would state a matter, he would raise 24 difficulties against me in attempt to disprove my claim. And I would answer him with 24 answers. This is how people learn. So if you say something, if you're learning Torah, that's why it gets heated a lot. You'll see in the Beis Midrash, this and this and that. And the person sitting in front of you, you're chavruta, chaver, that's what these two were. They were chavruta. They say, yeah, but it says in this verse, this and this and that. It doesn't mean that they're disagreeing with you, but they're not necessarily disagreeing with you. They're presenting more evidence. Think of a courtroom. We have this and this and this and this and this. All the evidence that has gone over there. And why are they doing this? L'shem shamayim, because they want to know not, oh, I'm right, or you're wrong. What is the truth? That's the only thing really that matters over here. So he gave him 24 questions based on what he would say, and then he would answer him with 24 answers, which is incredible. It said even before, while Reish Lakish was learning, every time before he came to Rabbi Yochanan, before he became his equal, he would review the material 40 times, 40 times. So he knew it backwards and forwards. So you couldn't hit him with anything over there. So he'd answer him with 24 answers, and the halacha by itself would become broadened and clarified. That's the only way. You're dueling, battle, and there it became clear to all. And they're like, oh, there it is. Excellent. Because if you bring up a counterpoint, that means it's something that I haven't seen. But maybe only part of your counterpoint is correct. So let me give a counterpoint, and so on and so forth, until all you're left with is the truth. That's a true study of Torah, especially in the Beit Midrash. That's why they study. A lot of times, again, if I'll study with people, I don't want to offend anybody, but like, yeah, it's like that. I get this fire and I start to yell, not necessarily at the other person, but because of the whole Torah thing. For instance, like if you guys an example, even when I'm sitting here, there's nobody in here. It's just me and the camera, right? Going through this, even if I'm speaking calmly, my body temperature rises because when I speak Torah, when I talk Torah, it gets me excited. It works. It's your neshama's like, yes, keep going, yes. So anyway, they had this love and this zeal for the truth, and the only way to do that is, like we said, the very definition of iron sharpening iron. So these two were sparring partners, making each other better for the sake of heaven. And yet you say to me, he tells him, there's a ruling which is taught in a Braita that supports my opinion. I don't need a yes man. Do I not know that what I say is good? Being rebutted by Resh Lakish served a purpose. Your bringing proof to my statement does not. I don't need you to stroke my ego. I need you to tell me why I'm wrong. Rabbi Yochanan went around, rending his clothes, weeping and saying, where are you, son of Lakish? Where are you, son of Lakish? Rabbi Yochanan screamed. This was going on for a while. He screamed until his mind was taken from him, meaning he went insane. The rabbis prayed and requested for God to have mercy on him and take his life. God answered, and Rabbi Yochanan died. Of his death, it is the understanding that he died of a broken heart for offending his best friend, causing him to wither and die. So Resh Lakish died because he was offended. Rabbi Yochanan died of a broken heart for offending him. It's a sad story. Nevertheless, it has a very happy ending, as death is not the end, especially when it comes to tzaddikim. So, back to our text. And on the day that he died, so too did his crew of bandits in the mountains. And Rabbi Shimon was given part in life eternal, while both of his comrades ended up in the lower parts of Sheol. They both said to the Holy One, blessed be He, Master of the universe, why do you play favorites? But no. This one was a bandit with us in the mountains, and he received eternal life, and we dwell in the lower parts of Sheol. God answered them saying, this did tshuva. while he was still alive, and you did not. They said to God, then give us a chance to do tshuva. To which he replied and said, now listen, people, teshuva can only be done until death, meaning while you're still alive. What do we know? That one who does not follow the law in his life is considered dead. We learned this so many times. That walking dead, right? The world today, we are literally the walking dead. We are the zombies. The zombie apocalypse is currently happening. This is where it's at, and this is what it looks like. Because the world is completely unaware of how to live. And every time God brings us something to take us down a notch, giving us something to reflect upon, like, I don't know, say a slaughter, pillaging, rape, torture that hasn't been done since the original Philistines were in town. What do? Let's start to protest again, to divide us yet again, to enrage us at one another yet again. Where is this coming from? The people are all hurting together. The soldiers that are fighting, doesn't matter what background they're coming from, they're both fighting and bleeding and dying together for the sake of our people, right? But the clowns that are sitting on the what we call Memshelet Zadon, as it says in the Zohar, right? The government of iniquity. They're the ones that are now dividing everybody. Yet again, God was the one that brought that. It gave us unity for a time, and people just keep doing their thing. We constantly fall into that trap because it's so easy. Everyone is emotionally invested in what's happening, whether we like it or not. There isn't a single person in Israel who is not affected by what is going on. We're holding our breath here every single day in the papers. We see what's going on. You see, as far as the powers that be are concerned, the status quo is a good thing, right? Don't think for yourself. We'll tell you what to think and how to think. We will designate and decide who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. And if you think different from us, well, then you're the bad guy. And all this for the reason that God is telling these two bandits here, your time is only while you live, while the world is doing everything in its power to distract you from this. Like we said, King Solomon, Ecclesiastes 9:5, for the living know that they will die, meaning the living, those that are actually aware of God and his commands, they know they can only do tshuva until they die. The living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. Well, if you're dead, you know nothing. No, the dead while they're still pseudo alive, and they have no more reward, for their remembrance is forgotten. This is Ecclesiastes 9. The living are those who live a life of Torah, while the dead are everyone else. Verse 6, also their love as well as their hate, as well as their provocation has already been lost, and they have no more share forever in all that is done under the sun. Nothing you do will remain, nor will it even be remembered, nor will it have any effect on what's to come. I'm not even talking about the low-level idiots in the general public that you can make fun of, okay? We're talking about the liberal left here, obviously. I mean, in the world of fools, there still has to be a bottom of the barrel. Because who cares about your pronouns, right? In the face of eternal life. Is that how you're going to be remembered? They went by he, she, they, them, dragon. Who cares about who you voted for? Who cares what you identified as? Who cares about what kind of car you drove or the kind of house that you lived in or the multiple cars that you had and the houses that you lived in? Who cares about your interests or even your cultural contributions? Well, you think people are going to remember Shakespeare? Doubtful that he was Shakespeare, but who cares? In eternal life, you think that thing is going to remain. Who cares what kind of movies you made, music you wrote, books you've written? Who cares what kind of patents you may have invented? And who the hell cares about the empires you've built? Many people have built empires before. Where are they today? And who cares, right? Who cares? None of these things matter. None. Not a single one. Let's continue seeing what Solomon says. Go, eat your bread joyfully and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your deeds. In other words, it's all done for you. You want to enjoy this life? Enjoy this life. Of course, I created you. I have given you plenty. I've given you bountiful rewards. Enjoy your cars, your houses, your this, your that, your privileges. Enjoy them all until it's over for you. And that's when it ends for you. Because we know this world is already on its way out. It's so obvious. And the new world that's coming in has nothing to do with any of this. Nothing. And yet, this is all people know because they have no relationship with God. So where do they seek comfort? Where do they seek to fill that hole in their soul? Where? In what? In everything else that the world is shoving down our throats. And what's sadder is that unfortunately, I say this, unfortunately, most Jews, secular or Orthodox, have no idea who they are. And they fall right into the trap that is this world. We said we want a king like the rest of the world, like the rest of the nations. We got it. We are never meant to live like this. We were never, ever meant to live like this. And this is how we are living right now. And we know that this is the time of the end. No one's even arguing with that anymore. Because if Israel truly followed Torah as we have been commanded, none of this would ever happen. I returned and I saw under the sun, this is verse 11, I returned and I saw under the sun that the race does not belong to the swift, nor the war to the mighty, neither do the wise have bread, nor do to the understanding have riches, nor the knowledgeable favor, for time and fate will overtake them all. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, how rich you are, how many things nothing matters. Time will overtake them all. This is what we discussed in the beginning, right? Time, you can't put a price on that. You understand that everyone is going to be humbled at some point, and none of what you have attained will make any difference as to where you are going. And this is why, mind you, the powers that be in this world are obsessed with longevity, because they refuse to leave their ways but want to live forever, as they have claimed the verse in Genesis 3:22. If you guys seen the 3:22 around, you know that it comes from an unholy place. Genesis 3:22. Now the Lord God said, behold, man has become like one of us, having the ability of knowing good and evil. And now lest he stretch forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. They want to live forever within the tree of knowledge of good and evil in this fallen state. This is their choice, and they're dragging the world down with them. They're still looking for it, but they will never attain it. Concluding from Solomon on the matter, for a man does not even know his time, like the fish that are caught with an inferior trap, and like the birds that are caught in the snare. Like them, the children of men are trapped at a time of evil. The children of men are trapped at a time of evil when it falls upon them suddenly. Everybody thinks everything is normal until, boom, something here happens in Israel and it shakes the foundations of the world. And now people have no idea what's going on. People that aren't even Jews, right? People that have no connection to Israel. They're not on this side or that side, nothing. It's affecting everybody. You see, God, it's like it's the ripple effect, and it all, boom, starts with Israel. But again, we don't have to be. So then what? What can we do? What actually matters in this world? What actually matters? Let's continue with our text. To which God said, Tshuva can only be done until death. What is this likened to? To a man who wishes to take a voyage at sea. If he did not take with him bread and water from an inhabited land, he will not find anything to eat or to drink at sea. Again, if a man wishes to go to the ends of the wilderness, unless he takes from some inhabited place bread and water, he will not find anything to eat or drink in the wilderness. You see, there is water at sea, but you can't drink it, right? If you drink it, it'll make you worse off. It's an illusion. It's a mirage. It's something that's causing you, it's to entice you of this world, but you know that it's going to make you sick and kill you, which is really what's happening. So too, if man does not do tshuva in his lifetime, he has no tshuva. Oiva avoy lanu if this happens. As said in Proverbs 6:35, he will not have regard for any ransom. Neither will he consent though you give him many bribes. God does not play favorites. It doesn't matter who you are. And then Jeremiah 17:10 says, I, the Lord, search the heart, test the kidneys, to give everyone according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. You see, you understand, deeds, actions, right? It's not, I believe this and what are you doing about it? Because clearly I see that it has to do with what we're doing here. That's why we are here. And I'm adding the words of Rabbi Eliezer from Pirkei Avot, actually, 2:10, where he said, and repent one day before your death. Now, does Rabbi Eliezer the Great not know the words of Solomon that we just read? For a man does not even know his time? Of course he does, which is why it's obvious. If you are alive, if you are breathing, no matter what state you may be in, high, low, rich, poor, sick, healthy, sad, happy, it doesn't matter. You do tshuva while you still can. Because when the lights finally go out, and make no mistake, they will for us all. We know this, right? There is nothing more that can be done. Then it's already too late. There will be no pleading with God because you have had every opportunity to course correct, but you chose not to. There were always excuses. God is the one that God seeks out the man's heart. He knows what's up. Don't lie to God. Don't. And if you think you may have not had the opportunity, saying, I didn't know, I fell on hard times, my life was coming apart, and on and on and on. Well, God say, well, I clearly did that in order for you to come back to me. There's never a right time to do the right thing. The right time to do the right thing is now, always. This is why he brought what God said in Jeremiah, I, the Lord, search the heart, test the kidneys, to give everyone according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. So if a gladiator turned bandit can do tshuva, completely turning his life around and inspiring others to do so, becoming one of the sharpest students of the law among the sages of his time, while also protecting the weak, what excuse could we possibly have? People, what do we got? He died without a penny to his name. It said he had a line of curcum. That's it. He had a little spice on him. That's it. He had nothing. But he earned his reward in the world to come. And every moment we discuss his teachings right now and the tshuva of his life, his position is elevated even higher and higher. Again, we are not called to be Torah scholars or teachers or judges or lawgivers. We are called to live how God told us to do so, each man according to his position. And tshuva has been put in place because God knew that we would fall. Hence, what is man that you are mindful of him? He's going to fall. Aha, I got my contingency plan in place. Tshuva, that's how the world stands. The only thing that we can take with us, the only thing that matters in this life is how we live it, regardless of where you are. Think Abraham. Abraham was being persecuted, thrown into the fire. He was constant. Abraham was the wealthiest man in the world. He was consistent. Abraham went to war with the 4 kings. He stayed on the straight and narrow. Abraham went down, straight and narrow. Didn't matter, up, down. This is Abraham's life, up and down, up and down. This is his walk, straight. That's what we're talking about, okay? Because nothing changes. Nothing changes. God doesn't change. So Abraham didn't change. He was always with God over there. So the only thing we take with us is how we live. Is it according to God? Which he has laid out very clearly, so much so that you can actually go out of your way not to live according to how he said. You understand? If you read the Torah, you understand how simple it is. The straight and narrow, it's not that difficult. You have to try really, really hard to go against God. But it's already become mainstream. That's how it is. And so today, you have to try really, really hard to go with God. Depends where you're at, right? Or just do whatever feels good for you and see how far that gets you. This is the time to stop and remember our downfall. This Shabbat, this coming Shabbat, we remember Amalek. It is both a positive and negative command. Remember positive. Do not forget negative. Amalek, of all nations, of all instances, of all things, is what can inspire us to do tshuva. They're always there. They're always out there, right? Until the end of time. And when the end comes, then it's too late, isn't it? From Deuteronomy 25. You shall remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you went out of Egypt. How he happened upon you in the way and cut off all the stragglers at your rear. Those that let go of God. That's who Amalek goes for. Those are the weak ones. He can't go with the strong ones. He can't touch the strong ones. When you were faint and weary, and he did not fear God. Amalek didn't fear God. We know what Amalek did, right? Amalek caught the stragglers from Israel. They cut off the males' brits, taking their brit, right? Throwing it up to the heavens and say, here, take your brit back. We haven't seen this kind of behavior since Simchas Torah over here by Gaza. And the time before that, we haven't seen that behavior. What was it? It was Munich Olympics, what they did to the Israeli athletes over there. It's very clear already who Amalek is. Now look at the world who are standing with these people. Understand, lines are already have been crossed, and you got to make sure that you're not on the wrong side. Therefore, it will be when the Lord your God grants you respite from all your enemies around you. In other words, this is going to happen. In the land which the Lord your God gives to you, that's here, as an inheritance to possess. That means all the other false, fake religions with their fake worship houses here are going bye-bye. That you shall obliterate the remembrance of Amalek from beneath the heavens. You shall not forget. Teshuvah destroys Amalek. Remember, don't forget. So I want you guys to think about this class. I know it was heavy, okay? But we clearly see that the hour is late. So don't delay. Do it today. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for joining me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give a drash next week because it's Purim here, an extra day in Jerusalem, so it's Sunday and Monday. I don't know if I'm going to make it because I know that the next topic we're actually speaking about Pharaoh and his whole journey. It's a long topic. I don't know that I'm going to make it for next week. Please forgive me. Also, whatever I got right now, I gotta kick that. But in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful Shabbat and have a Chag Purim Sameach. This is that time. Okay, make it count. See ya.